Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another video. What we're going to be doing today is we are going to be looking at our Week 3 NFL games. We are going to go over every single game, break them down, and try to predict the outcome for all of the games. Look at the money lines, the spreads, and the over-unders. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I will make sure to respond. So we're going over every game for Week 3 of the 2024 season. We do this every week for every NFL game, and we also do the same thing for every single college football game every week. So make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so that you can follow along with us. Week 2 was really interesting. Week 2 had the most upsets in NFL history. The most underdogs won in Week 2. It was a crazy week that perfectly blends right into Week 3. Kicking things off, Thursday night we have our Amazon Prime video game, September 19th at 8:15 p.m. We have the 1-1 New England Patriots visiting the 1-1 New York Jets. The Jets at home have a 66.5% chance to win this game. They are 6.5-point favorites here. The over-under is 38.5. With the Patriots, they've been playing Jacoby Brissett. They've been playing Drake May. Either way, their offense hasn't necessarily been very fluid. It's been very one-dimensional. When you're looking at what they're doing on offense they're averaging 18 points a game, only 122 passing yards per game. That's gotten them the 1-1. That's not going to get you very many wins, especially when you're playing a defense as good as the Jets. They're going to stack the line. They're going to shut your run game down. They're going to force you to have to beat them vertically through the air. They're throwing for 122. They are having some success on the ground. They're averaging 177.5 yards per game on the ground. Stevenson is leading the way at the running back position, and they have Hunter Henry as their leading wide receiver. For the Jets, they got their first taste of victory with Aaron Rodgers at the helm in Week 2. Obviously, he got hurt Week 1 last season. He missed the majority of the preseason. He was kind of rusty Week 1, but that was to be expected. The guy hasn't played football in almost 2 years. He looked a lot better, a lot more comfortable in the offensive scheme Week 2. He didn't throw for too many yards, but when they needed him to make a third down completion, he was able to get it. Look for the Jets to rely on Hall at the running back position. They are averaging 85 yards per game. They're going to focus on the run game. When they need a pass, they have Rodgers, they have Wilson. They're all getting a lot more comfortable in this scheme together. They should be getting better every single week, and you know the Jets are always going to have a top 10 defense, a very physical defense. I'm going to go with the Jets winning this one at home, 20-13, and covering that spread. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Look for the Jets to force the Patriots into being one-dimensional. That's going to be the kicker, is the Jets' defense. We're now moving on to our Sunday slate of games at 1 p.m. on Fox on September 22nd. We have the 0-2 New York Giants on the road versus the 1-1 Cleveland Browns. The Browns at home, 64.7% chance to win this game. They are 6-point favorites here, and the over-under is 38.5. When you look at the New York Giants, there's really not much to say there. They're not very good, and they're not good at any one thing specifically. They don't throw the ball, they don't run the ball, they don't play solid defense, they don't have a good line on either side of the ball. They have a lot of positions that they need to work on in the offseason, especially in the NFL draft. The main issue is Daniel Jones at the quarterback position. They should have never signed him to that big contract. He's been a complete disaster. The guy cannot throw at all, and now he also has injury issues. Since they got rid of Saquon, Singletary has been decent at the running back position. Neighbors is a legitimate wide receiver number 1 going forward. So if you are a Giants fan, you at least have one position locked down. You just need to get a quarterback that can consistently get him the ball. But he is a wide receiver number 1 permanently. So that's solved. The Browns are going to look to force the Jets to only throw the ball, and if you have only one weapon, that's not necessarily going to work very well versus the Browns. The Browns have a top 10 defense. They have Myles Garrett. He's going to get after it. He's going to pressure Daniel Jones a lot. He's going to hit him a lot. That line is going to be stacked. They're going to force Jones to have to beat them vertically through the air. Even with Neighbors there, Jones just isn't good enough. For the Browns, though, Deshaun Watson, obviously, he has all the off-the-field stuff going on. At some point this season, he might get benched. He might get suspended. As of right now, though, he's still the starting quarterback going forward. The Browns are coming off of that close win versus the Jags in Jacksonville. They have a very good roster. The issue has been Deshaun Watson. When they needed him to make plays, he made plays this past Sunday, but he has not been the same player he was pre-suspension 2 to 3 seasons ago. But they have Watson, they have Ford, Judy. They have weapons, especially at the wide receiver position. They have a really good defense. I have the Browns winning this one 24-13 and covering that spread. The next game we're looking at on Fox at 1 p.m., we have the 1-1 Green Bay Packers visiting the 0-2 Tennessee Titans. The Titans are still looking for their first win. They're at home. They are the underdogs according to ESPN's prediction. They have the Packers a 51.0% chance to win this game. So obviously, basically, this game's a 50-50. But Tennessee, according to Vegas, they are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 36.5. This is going to be a close game. This is two offenses that are struggling currently at the present moment. But you know why the Packers are struggling? Because their star quarterback, the one that just got the big contract, Jordan Love, he's hurt. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, so they've been rolling with Malik Willis. He's a mobile quarterback. The guy cannot throw at all, but he can run. He can scramble. The Packers are going to look to make this a ground game. They're going to run the ball. Willis, Jacobs, Reed can catch some passes when he needs to, but look for them to just run almost every single down. When they throw it, it's going to be on 3rd and long situations or play action when they're trying to catch the Titans off guard. But this is going to be a ground game. That means they're going to just try to suck up the clock, keep this game close, pull it out, just try to get enough wins so that once Love gets back, you still potentially have a shot to make a run at the playoffs. For the Titans, they also have issues at the quarterback position. Will Levis has not played well at all. I was not a fan of his coming out of Kentucky. He's just not an accurate passer. People love the arm strength, but the accuracy was never there. The decision-making was never there. But a lot of people say that he just doesn't have the weapons. Well, Pollard is actually having a pretty decent season on the ground. They are averaging 135 yards per game on the ground, but Calvin Ridley, he's just not getting enough looks on the offense. They've been struggling, but they are at home. They've had a close loss. They should have won in week 2, but Will Levis cost them the game. But that just shows they are that close to getting a win. At some point, they're going to get it. I think this is the week. Now, the Packers can run the ball. They're averaging 212 yards per game on the ground. If they're able to successfully run on Tennessee, run for 200 to 250 yards, they might pull this one out. This game's practically 50-50. I'm going to go with Tennessee getting the win, though. 17-16, not covering the spread, but this game is probably going to be pretty close. Our next game at 1 p.m. on CBS, we have the 1-1 Chicago Bears versus the 0-2 Colts. This game is in Indianapolis. The Colts at home, 52.7% chance to win this game. They are 1.5-point favorites. This game is basically virtually a push, and the over-under is 43.5. So a lot of people are complaining about the performance of Caleb Williams so far in the 2024 season. He was the number 1 overall pick. He hasn't played well, but he's been sacked a lot. He's been pressured a lot. So we don't have enough games to fully judge him. Let's just take a breath. He had like 93 yards in week 1. So he technically played a lot better in week 2. Still had some sloppy moments. This isn't the Pac-12. This is the NFL. He does run around a lot when he needs to get rid of the ball, but he's under a lot of pressure. That offensive line has to hold up. They have to buy him some time. He's the leading rusher. That's not good enough. The Bears need to generate some type of ground game to be successful going forward. Him rushing as the team lead, and he only has 59 rushing yards, and he's the leading rusher. That's not going to cut it. The Bears need to generate something, but that obviously falls on the offensive line, that they're not able to open up any holes, any lanes for the running back position. But he has DJ Moore there. He has a legitimate wide receiver number 1, but his passes to him have been awful. They've been completely off track, but maybe they'll get a lot more chemistry going forward. When you look at the Colts here, Anthony Richardson, he's not having a good season by any means. Sloppy quarterback play. But I called it last year. I said this guy was not good at Florida, but everyone loved the physical intangibles. That's why he was drafted so high. That has not so far translated in the NFL, but we haven't seen enough games from him to be fully certain. He obviously missed the majority of last season, and we're only in week 3 right now. He can run, he's mobile, and he has weapons. He has Jonathan Taylor, who's one of the best all-around running backs. He can run it. He can catch it out the backfield. He has Pierce out there who can catch the ball, get you yards after the catch, but he needs to make better decisions himself. The Bears don't have a bad defense by any means. Look for a steady dose of Caleb Williams throwing the ball more accurately, Swift, and DJ Moore and Caleb Williams finally getting on the same page. The Colts are the favorite at home. I'm going to go with the Bears to win this one. 24-17, and obviously for that spread not to be covered. Our next matchup is probably going to be a pretty fun one. On CBS at 1 p.m., we have the 2-0 Houston Texans versus the 2-0 Minnesota Vikings. The Texans on the road had the 54.2% chance to win this game. They are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 45.5. Texans, they're having a good season so far. They basically picked up right where they left off last year. CJ Stroud looks great. He has 500 yards passing so far. They have one of the best offensive rosters in the NFL right now. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver. They have CJ Stroud. They have Joe Mixon. They have Collins. They have Diggs. They have a decent offensive line. They can beat you passing the ball. They can beat you running the ball. They have playmakers when it matters. A great offensive squad. Their defense is average to above average, but when your offense is that good, they can definitely do enough to have you win you the game. For Minnesota, they're one of the surprise teams so far. So the Texans are playing the way that we expected them to. The Vikings are playing a lot better than almost anyone thought that they were going to start out this season. They lost their quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. Sam Darnold, he's come out of nowhere, and he looks like the guy that was drafted out of USC, the guy that he was supposed to be when he came out of college and went in the first round. He had a horrible career so far. He has not played bad by any means through the first 2 weeks. They're averaging 25.5 points per game. They're only giving up 11.5 points a game. He has 500 yards passing. Jones is running the ball on the ground. They have Justin Jefferson, who's obviously a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. Some people say he is number 1. They have a legitimate play. That throw that Darnold made last week in week 2, that was an amazing throw. Everyone's been talking about it. We have always known that he had the arm strength, but he was very Jekyll Hyde. So when he would show promise, the very next play, the very next game would be awful. He's been playing legitimate the whole season so far. But it's only week 3. At some point, you're bound to hit a roadblock, get a hiccup. I think the Texans might be the team that forces that because they have the offensive capabilities to go blow for blow. What if Darnold finds himself down 7-0, 10-0 first quarter? Does he start to make some mistakes then, trying to force the ball to catch up points-wise? I have the Texans winning this one, 24-21, and covering the spread on the road. Our next matchup can easily turn into a shootout. At 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 1-1 Philadelphia Eagles versus the 2-0 New Orleans Saints. The Saints, a slight favorite here, a 50.9% chance to win this game. They are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 49.5. With the Eagles, they have that Monday loss. They look like the team that finished last season. They finished last season second half. They had a very, very bad second half to the season. They were a playoff team first half, and they were horrible second half. Turnovers. Way too many turnovers, especially from Hurts himself. Throwing the ball, fumbling the ball, running too much. The defense has been getting gashed every single game. Every game turns into a shootout with the Eagles, basically from the halfway point of last season up to right now. Doesn't look like they worked on anything the offseason. Looks like the exact same team came right back. But they can score some points. They have playmakers. They have Jalen Hurts. They have Saquon Barkley. They have Smith. They have Brown. But Brown's injured. He's out for a couple weeks. That's a massive loss. He's a wide receiver number 1. But Smith is more than capable of being that go-to guy coming out of the slot, third down. For the Saints, just like the Vikings, they're one of the surprise teams this season. They could not move the ball. They could not score to save their life last season. Now they've scored on every single possession they've had so far this season. They haven't punted once. That's amazing. Props to this experienced veteran team. Carr is having his best season so far. They look completely different on the offensive side. They always had a really good roster, but they couldn't get any points. Now they're averaging 45.5 points a game, and their defense is giving up 14.5 points a game. They have Carr, they have Kamara, they have Shaheed, they have Olave, they have weapons everywhere. This game could turn into a shootout. The Saints are the favorites right now, and you definitely see why. I was actually going with the Eagles to win this one the whole time, but I just recently changed my mind. Brown's not there. They're playing bad. I have the Saints continuing to win, pulling this one off 28-24 and covering the spread. The next matchup on CBS at 1 p.m., we have the 2-0 LA Chargers versus the 2-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. Both of these teams are undefeated. The Chargers on the road, a 51.4% chance to win this game, but it's the Steelers who are the Vegas favorites. They are 2-point favorites. The over-under is 35.5. Everything, to me, shows this game being a low-scoring, a very close game. It's probably going to go down to the end of the fourth quarter, very last possession, or someone might get a turnover at the end of the game. That's what seals it. That's what closes everything out. When you look at the Chargers, they have Harbaugh coming in as the head coach, and this team has taken on Harbaugh's identity. They play hard-nosed physical football. They line up. They run the ball. They play solid defense. Herbert has yet to throw for over 150 yards. That's un-Herbert-like. He can throw for 350, but they haven't needed him to. They are letting him play conservative right now. They don't need him to get into a shootout because they're running the ball and they're playing really solid defense. But they know if they need him to score, he's more than capable of going right down the field and lighting it up if he has to. Look for them to run the ball. Herbert can throw when needed. J.K. Dobbins having a great season, closing in on 300 rushing yards. They have Quentin Johnson. For the Steelers, they have two quarterbacks, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. As of right now, Justin Fields is starting. I wouldn't roll out Russell Wilson. He looked awful last season. I think Justin Fields has the higher ceiling at this point of Russell Wilson's career. He can throw, he can run. He's been able to win so far. They haven't been lighting it up points-wise. They're only averaging 15.5 points per game, but we know Pittsburgh has a legitimate, solid top 10 defense led by Watt. They're going to play physical. That's why they're the favorites here. This is going to be a trenches game decided at the line of scrimmage, but I'm going to go with the Chargers winning this one, 21-17, and that spread not getting covered. But this game could easily go either way. Our next game at 1 p.m. on Fox, we have the 0-2 Denver Broncos versus the 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers at home, 69% chance to win this game. They are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under is 39.5. Denver's just not good at anything. They had a horrible season last season. Sean Payton had his guy. He drafted Bo Nix. That's his prototypical quarterback for him. A very accurate short-arm passer, but it has not played well at all. Bo Nix has looked awful, but it's only 2 weeks in. The guy hasn't been in the NFL very long. Everyone slow down. As of right now, looking bad, but we're honestly seeing a lot of bad quarterback play this season. Their defense has been pretty decent, pretty solid, but Bo Nix is closing in on 400 yards passing. He's the leading rusher with 60 yards. That lets you know where the problem is. This team cannot run the ball at all. Sean Payton, he's an offensive guy. He has to figure out something. He has to get a running game going. They have Reynolds there catching the passes. For the Buccaneers, they were a playoff team last season. Really solid defensive line. They can shut the run game down. Denver doesn't have a run game, so they're going to be getting a lot of pressure on Bo Nix. He's going to be running for his life the whole game. Tampa Bay, they're having one of the better starts this season. Baker Mayfield was the comeback player of the year last year to me. He's closing in on 500 yards passing. He has Irving at the running back position, one of the deeper experienced wide receiver cores. He has Godwin. He has Evans. He has guys that he can rely on third down. They can score a lot when they need to. I have Tampa Bay winning this one at home, 28-16, and covering the spread. This next game is at 4:05 p.m. on CBS. The 0-2 Carolina Panthers versus the 1-1 Raiders. This game is in Las Vegas. The Raiders a 62.3% chance to win this game. The spread, Raiders are 5.5-point favorites. Over/under is 40.5. The Panthers were the worst team in the NFL last season. They are by far the worst team in the NFL this season. It does not look like they got any better. Actually, it looks like, surprisingly, they actually got worse this season. They have no first-round picks. Bryce Young has played awful since he's been drafted. I don't necessarily want to put too much blame on him. He basically didn't play the whole preseason. He has an awful offensive line. Chuba Hubbard, I mean, can you put that much blame on him? The guy only has 78 yards rushing, but the line is awful. Bryce Young can't throw the ball. They have Thielen there at the wide receiver position, but he's the only guy who can potentially catch any pass on that team. This is a really bad roster from top to bottom. They have so many pieces they have to work on. I don't even know where you start. The Raiders, Pierce head coach, they have Gardner Minshew having a great season so far. They have a solid defense with great defensive players. When needed to, they can get stopped, but this game should never be that close where the defense has to step up. Look for Minshew to have a big game passing the ball. They have solid players. Minshew, White, Devontae Adams. I have the Raiders winning this one 23-17 and covering the spread. The next game we're looking at 4:05 p.m. on CBS, the 1-1 Miami Dolphins versus the 2-0 Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks 66.9% chance to win this game. They are 4.5-point favorites. The over/under is 41.5. This would have been a really fun game. Miami would have been the favorites if Tua was not hurt. He's out. He's had his 15th concussion. He's on the IR. He's not going to be playing. That is a massive loss. He's the general on the field. He has a weak arm. He is accurate. But when you have that many playmakers, one of the best offensive rosters in all of football, potentially probably the best wide receiver core, but he's gone. Skylar Thompson's coming in. The guy can't throw to save his life. Yes, he's mobile. He can run. He's capable of winning this game because obviously the coaching is going to adapt the gameplay to him. They're now fully prepared for him to be the starter as of right now until Tua comes back, if he comes back this season. They're going to adapt the gameplay to him. They're going to run a lot. They have Hill, Waddle, Mostert, Achin. They have a loaded team, but if you're just running the ball nonstop, you're just going to drain clock, and I just find it really hard for them to win Skylar Thompson's game back this week. When you look at Seattle, they have Geno Smith. They have the playmakers. They have Kenneth Walker, who was out last week, might play this week. If not, see a lot of Zach Charbonnet. They're going to run the ball at the Dolphins. The Dolphins' defense is probably going to get tired because they'll be on the field a lot. They have DK Metcalf. I have Seattle winning this one at home, 20-13, and covering the spread. This next matchup is going to be a fun one. At 4:25 p.m. on Fox, we have the 0-2 Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are surprisingly winless at this point of the season. They will be visiting the 1-1 Dallas Cowboys. This game is in Dallas, Jerry World. Cowboys are usually really tough to play at home, but it's the visiting team that has the higher chance to win. They have a 53.6% chance to win this game. They are 1-point favorites. That's basically a push. The over-under is 48.5. When you look at the Ravens, last season they had a top 5 offense, a top 5 defense. They had the number 1 rushing team. They added Derrick Henry to this loaded roster. They have Flowers. They have Andrews. They have Likely. They have a 2-time MVP quarterback. They have the quarterback. They have the running back. They have the wide receiver. They have the tight ends. They have a good line. They have a stacked defense, and they're winless. Absolutely nothing has gone their way so far this season. They are fighting for a win. This team cannot drop to 0-3. They are way too talented. This is a team with Super Bowl aspirations this season. They have to get the ship right. They have to do it now. For Dallas, they looked great week 1. They looked awful last week. Dak Prescott did not play well by any means. Ezekiel Elliott is their leading rusher. He has 56 yards. He's basically averaging 28 yards per game on the ground. They need to figure out something. They have a experienced veteran offensive line. They have to get a run game going. If you rely on Dak Prescott, sometimes he gets a little careless. So if you're just going to throw the ball 30 to 40 times per game, there's going to be turnovers. You do have CeeDee Lamb. He's a top 10 wide receiver. The guy is a legit wide receiver number one. But you need to get the run game going. What happened to Dallas's defense? They're giving up 30.5 points a game. That's atrocious. This was a top 5 defense last season. They have to find it. Parsons, something has to change. They're going to look to change that with the momentum of being at home. This game's practically 50-50. I would not be surprised whoever won. I think the team that has the ball last wins. I'm going to go with the Ravens taking this one on the road, winning it 28-21, getting their first win and covering the spread. The next game at 4:25 p.m. on Fox, you have the 1-1 San Francisco 49ers versus the 0-2 LA Rams. This game preseason would have been one of the best games of the season. Two really fun offenses to watch, but these teams are completely decimated by injuries. The 49ers on the road here have a 63.9% chance to win this game. 7.5-point favorites, the over-under 43.5. Purdy did not play well week 2. He has to step up to the plate. He has to have a better game. He is capable of it, but he needs to show that he can put this team on his back. They're down McCaffrey. They're down Debo. They have Ayuk. They have Kittle. They have a lot of weapons there still. This was a top 5 offense last season, a top 5 defense. They probably have the best all-around roster in the NFL from top to bottom when you look at this team on paper. For the Rams, they had Stafford, they have Williams, they have Nakua, Kupp. This is a team that was a legitimate, they had a bad defense, but they could score. Every game could be a shootout, fun to watch. But now they're down Cooper Kupp. They're down Nakua. So they're basically going to be going to their 3rd, 4th, 5th options at the wide receiver position versus the 49ers defense. As great as Stafford is sometimes, that's going to be a really hard mountain to have to climb. I have the 49ers winning this one 24-16 and covering the spread. The next one on Fox at 4:25 p.m., we have the 1-1 Detroit Lions visiting the 1-1 Arizona Cardinals. The game's virtually split, but the Lions are a slight favorite here. 49.9% chance to win this game. They are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 52.5. This game could potentially turn into a shootout easily. Lions are reeling after week 2. St. Brown's down. Goff has not played his best football so far this season. Campbell, though, he wants to get this team right. They still have a loaded offensive squad. They have Montgomery. They have Williams. They have Gibbs. They have weapons there. Goff just has to play better. Thankfully for him, the Cardinals' defense is not a good defense. They have virtually no pass rush, but Kyler Murray has been having an MVP caliber season so far through the first 2 weeks. He has 450 yards passing. They have James Conner on the ground. They have Marvin Harrison Jr. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. If the Lions turn this game into a shootout, they have the speed to be able to match them blow for blow. I could easily see the Cardinals winning this one because the Lions don't have St. Brown. That's a massive loss for them. But I'm going to go with the Lions finally getting things back on track, pulling this one out 30-27. The final game on Sunday on NBC at 8:20 p.m. The 2-0 Kansas City Chiefs visiting the 1-1 Atlanta Falcons. Chiefs on the road, 58.2% chance to win this game. They're 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 46.5. The Falcons finally got things right in week 2. Kirk Cousins showed why they signed him to that massive contract. This is 2 veteran, experienced quarterbacks going face-to-face with 2 very loaded rosters. When you look at Kansas City, they have a top 5 defense from last season. They are loaded. They're going to seek to shut the running game down for the Falcons, try to have Kirk Cousins beat them vertically through the air. We know the way Kirk Cousins is. He can have a massive game. He can have a bad game, especially in those spotlight moments Sunday night. They have it all to themselves. For Kansas City, Pacheco's banged up, but you have Mahomes, you have Rice, you have Worthy, you have Kelsey, you have weapons there, and you have a top defense that you can rely on to keep this game close. If it's a one-possession game, fourth quarter, Mahomes can win you the game. When you look at the Falcons, loaded roster. They have Kirk Cousins, They have Bijan Robinson, they have Algiers, they have London, they have Mooney, they have Kyle Pitts. They have weapons at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, good line, solid defense. The game could turn into a rout one way because it could easily turn into a shootout, blow for blow. I'm going to go with Kansas City winning it because defense travels. They're going to bring it to Atlanta. I have Kansas City winning this one 24-23, but not covering the spread. We're now moving on to our two Monday games. Monday night, 7:30, September 23rd on ESPN. The 0-2 Jacksonville Jaguars on the road versus the 2-0 Buffalo Bills. Jags trying to get their first win. Bills trying to stay undefeated. The Bills at home have a 66% chance to win this game. 5.5-point favorites, over under 45.5. When you look at Jacksonville, they've had two close losses, gut-wrenching losses. Trevor Lawrence has not lived up to his massive contract that he just signed. He's been rushed in the pocket. He's been making bad decisions. He's been overthrowing guys, underthrowing guys. He has to play better. A lot of pressure on him. They gave you a lot of money. We need to see a better product on the field. Travis Etienne Jr., he has to be better at the running back position. He's been fumbling too much. They need a legitimate wide receiver number one that could be Thomas Jr. He's young. He's been playing really well so far. Kirk, though, needs to step up. We have to see better plays out of him. He has to run his routes better. When you look at the Bills had cap issues last season. They got rid of Diggs. Everyone expected them to take a major step back this season, but the division's open right now. The Dolphins are done. 2 is out. The Jets are your next rival, but the Bills have really stepped up this season. They lost pieces, but they got better. Josh Allen seems like he doesn't have the team on his back this season, so you're getting a more productive MVP caliber version of Josh Allen. Cook, they are running the game efficiently. Props to Joe Brady. They have a really good run game that's taken a lot of pressure off of Josh Allen. He doesn't have to throw the ball 50 times per game to win. They have Shakir. They have Keon Coleman. They have weapons. They have a really good defense. They're at home. They're running hot right now. Jags are scrambling, trying to get their first win. I have the Bills winning this one 24-17 and covering the spread. For our final game on Monday, 8:15 p.m. on ABC, the 1-1 Washington Commanders versus the 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have had 2 bad losses. The Week 1 loss to the Patriots, that was just awful, and that gut-wrenching loss versus Kansas City in Week 2. But they played a lot better in Week 2, so you're getting a better product after that Week 1 disaster. They looked a lot more prepared. For Washington, Daniels has looked legit at the quarterback position. He was their first-round pick. He got thrown in there. He's the starter. Washington scored a lot of points last year, but their defense was Swiss cheese. The offensive line was bad. They're much improved on the offensive line right now. They have Daniels. They have Robinson Jr. They have Eckler. They have weapons. They can score, but the issue is still defense, but it looks like they're making baby steps. They do have a strong foundation going forward. Cincinnati, you have Joe Burrow, you have Moss, you have Gesicki, Chase. We need a better game out of Chase. They have a very loaded offensive roster. They have a solid defense. They showed that they can go blow for blow with the Super Bowl champs Kansas City in Kansas City. This game's now in Cincinnati. I have the Bengals winning this one 30-20. But it could be a higher scoring one. So that's our breakdown of our Week 3 NFL predictions for every single game this week. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments about these or any games, drop them below, and I'll make sure to respond. Thank you.